This is Ogrodowski of WeAreChange.org here in London, England, and I am joined by the one and only George Galloway, UK politician. Now, George, you have done a lot of actions throughout the years, but I think one of the most important ones was your fight against the Iraq War. You seem to be vindicated with everything that's happening right now, with the horrible events unfolding. Now, with what's happening in Iraq right now, what is the best case and worst case scenario?
Well, the vindication is not mine alone. It's the vindication of millions of us. Few of them experts, and none of them in possession of the knowledge we have now, namely that it was all based on a pack of lies. Yeah. There were no weapons of mass destruction. The basis for the war was entirely bogus, and moreover, our leaders knew it to be as they were advancing it to us. So it's a vindication that's shared by millions who turned out to be rather more expert in their predictions of what might happen in the region if Bush and Blair invaded, than the people that we employed and elected to take important decisions. Iraq's in a very serious trouble now. It's critical. It's on emergency life support. There's no obvious end in sight. We have a government in Baghdad that is bereft of political support, that came to power through the deliberate sectarianization of Iraqi politics by the governor, Paul Bremer, the first American plenipotentiary after the invasion, and which is entirely reliant on one small part, actually, of one of the sects that populate Iraq. Has no support at all in any of the other segments of the community. At the same time, there is no other politician or political force ready and able to step into the breach and provide a better government. So, in that vacuum, the fanatics, former Al-Qaeda group, ISIS, who were expelled from Al-Qaeda as too extreme, too sectarian, imagine, they are on the march and carrying all before them. They have captured very substantial parts of Iraq's territory. They already held very large number of square kilometers, but mainly desert with few people. But now they possess some of Iraq's most important cities, including its second most important city in Mosul. And they're only 40 at the time of recording. Who knows by the time your people see this, but at the time of recording this, they're just 40 kilometers away from Baghdad. Yeah. Battle lines are being drawn. Maliki, the Prime Minister, has appealed to President Obama to bomb his own people, to bomb his own country, as if that's going to do any good.
Now, it seems like a big divide and conquer operation by the West, because we know Saudi Arabia, Qatar, NATO, and the U.S. have been funding ISIS with weapons and money when they were fighting Syria. Now they came into Iraq. We have, the Prime Minister asking for bombs. Is it right for the U.S. to bomb? I mean, like, what is your take on the bombing of Iraq, possibly by the U.S., and will U.S. bomb people that it armed?
I can't imagine there are many sane individuals in the world who think that any problem in the Middle East, in a Muslim country, in the middle of a war, can be bettered by dropping American bombs on the situation. There may be one or two crazed fanatics still in the Pentagon or in the upper reaches of the U.S. government, but I can't imagine that there are many. American bombing will make every matter worse. American bombing is what got us into this mess in the first place. But by the way, it's even worse than you described it, because ISIS is coming and going back and forward across the Syrian border. When they step across into the Syrian border, they're American allies. They're receiving American money, and British money for that matter, materiel, so-called non-lethal military aid, Toyota trucks, communications equipment, body armor, night vision sights, and the like. They get special forces training from both of our countries, but only if their foot is over this line in Syria. When they step over that line back into Iraq, we're asked to believe they're the worst thing that there's ever been, and a threat to life as we know it. This fundamental contradiction, gigantic chasm at the heart of Western policy towards the East, towards the Muslim world, surely sometime soon is going to be known by everybody.
Yeah. I hope so, because the mainstream media in the United States is not talking about the very fact that these people were supported by our own very tax dollars, which makes no sense at all. Now, the people responsible for this, like Tony Blair, he's been putting his foot in his mouth recently. Why isn't he in jail? And what's the latest? Because I know someone tried to make a citizen arrest of him recently at a bar here. So what's going on with Tony Blair, and why isn't he in jail?
Well, I'm trying to put him in jail, and just this very week I began proceedings in the Houses of Parliament to impeach Tony Blair. It hasn't been used, this procedure, since 1806, so it's a bit dusty, and we've had to dig out the dust-covered tomes from the House of Commons library to work out the procedure. It has many obstacles and challenges on the way, but in the end, I will force a vote in the House of Commons on the impeachment of Tony Blair. What does that mean? It's not the same as in the US. He's brought to the bar of the House of Commons, literally a bar, at which he must stand and be put on trial by the members of the Parliament, which have the power to imprison him. I'm doing this because I see little prospect of the International Criminal Court at The Hague, because they drew up the rules to preclude such a thing. You've got to be an African and black to end up on trial at the ICC. And the Chilcot inquiry into the war, which the government before this David Cameron administration set up, has taken literally 7 years to report, and scores of billions of pounds of expenditure, and still no result. So I don't think we can wait any longer, because Mr. Blair is still a clear and present danger. It's not as if he's retired to the country to tend his sheep. He is out there calling for more and more war almost every weekend in the international media. So I'm going to try and impeach him. He's still what's called a Privy Councillor, which entitles him to use the term Right Honourable before his name, and he's neither right nor honourable, and the Queen doesn't deserve to be advised by a man like him. But as a former Prime Minister and as a former Member of Parliament, we in the House of Commons have the right to impeach him, and I intend to make sure we do.
Well, I very much hope that happens. I mean, ourselves and our news organization caught him lying to Parliament very easily, so I bet there's so many things that he has committed. But to you, with everything happening right now in Iraq, is there a possible solution that could be peaceful, that could be nonviolent? Is there any recommended actions by foreign governments or the local government there that you recommend that they take?
Well, all foreign governments should stay well out of Iraq. The problem that we have in Iraq is that foreign governments were there with overwhelming force just 11 years ago, and they've killed 1 million Iraqis. They've scattered 3 million Iraqis, maybe 4 million, across the borders as refugees. They have sectarianized and atomized Iraq into dozens of emirates, into hundreds of militia, and the last thing we need is more foreign intervention in Iraq. Iraq, in the end, will have to be fixed by the Iraqis. And if I were asked for advice by the central government in Baghdad, which is unlikely, I know, but this would be the advice. Until you have a government in Baghdad representing all the sects, all the currents, all the ethnicities present in Iraq, then you will never be able to have the national unity required to repel the kind of fanatic, savage, obscurantist invaders like ISIS who are currently laying waste to your country.
George Galloway, thank you so much. It's a very sad situation right now in Iraq, but I'm very happy to see somebody trying to hold people accountable for creating this mess like Tony Blair. Hopefully, we will see him in jail soon.